Casper, how are you today, sir?
Good, Mike. How you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. I'm all right. I know you probably won't remember this, but I've been doing this entertainment journalism thing for a little while now. And you took part in one of my favorite interview moments of all time. And I'll preface the story for you here. So it was a convention in Toronto about 7 years ago. And you were animated and excited. You were talking about Starship Troopers, and you shouted at the top of your lungs, "You know what to do! Let's kill them all!" Only to be so rudely interrupted by one Mr. Jonathan Frakes, who was off in the distance, who I believe screamed out, "Shut up! Shut the Absolutely hilarious. It broke up the entire convention center. It was fantastic. So I just wanted to make sure before we started this interview that Jonathan is not hiding off camera anywhere.
I don't know, but he's a great guy. So if he did that, he's funny and he can come up with those at the right moment. So
great to talk to you about the flood, and I definitely want to talk to you about your recent work this year. But let's talk about this movie first. Looks like a lot of fun. You get to play a tough guy, you get to shoot guns, you get to hunt alligators, but at the same time, you're shooting in Thailand, correct?
yes,
And it looked hot, wet, and miserable. What was shooting this movie like for you?
hot, wet, and miserable. And I'm not even kidding. I love everybody involved with it. Okay, it's a great group. I've done Battle for Saipan with them. I'd worked with Louis before, and the same director, and the same producer, and the same producing team, and in the same location in Thailand. But now we're in these buildings that they're having to make, these buildings that had rats and all this other stuff that were no longer lived in or anything like that. And then they had to waterproof them and then fill them with water. And the water would start out clean in the morning ish. And then it would get dirty before lunch, and then it was just filthy, disgusting because you're getting dunked under it. You know, happens, snot comes out. People are just like this, and it's all the water. People are going in and out with equipment and clothes on, clothes that are not normally that. Mud's getting tracked in, so the water went dirty real quick, and then it got really, really disgusting. They clean it out every day, and then they start it out again, and it just would get really gross. And then you're closed in this. Now, let me tell you something. I also live in Florida, so we avoid alligators in general. If they're there, you take a wide berth from them because they can get you.
Yeah.
And they can kill you. And they do, because there's stupid people in Florida. I don't even know why I just said it. I mean, there's Florida people who will take a selfie with an alligator and get eaten by it.
Mhm.
If they took a selfie with an alligator. If there was a flood and the water rushed in there and alligators came in and you were now locked in a closed room, I would feel sorry for you because dark water, you can't see them, but they can get you.
Yeah.
Even if you have guns and you're trying to shoot in the water, you're going to, I don't know if you're going to see them because it was so dark. And that was the reality of it. Luckily, we only had CGI alligators. so there was no real threat, but you had to act like there was a real threat. You had to, if an alligator was really caught in a room with you, the thing is, they're the apex predator in there. And they're also now freaked out because they're in an environment, they're still in their water environment, but they're in a new closed environment. And anything that bumps into them or anything that's near them, they're going to bite.
Well, that was a perfect segue because I was going to ask you, you've dealt with a lot of CG in your career, infamously, obviously, in Starship Troopers. You'd say the same thing for the Headless Horseman. You've got Ray wearing the blue hood. So there are things that you have to picture, you have to ignore as an actor. And then you just talked about it. You're basically shooting these guns into dark water, empty dark water. What gets you to the point where you are believably afraid of what you're actually looking at?
That's the job of every actor that gets in there, and some of them can do it better than others, and some of them, when they're younger, they're having a harder time with it, and sometimes when they're younger, they're really good at it because it's a play. Everything that actors do is a play, whether it's acting in a play, in a movie, TV series, whatever it is. If you're acting, you're going back to that childhood thing, like a little kid. You can go, okay, you're going to be a cowboy now, and that guy step up, try to act like a cowboy. They don't have to know all the details about it, but they can do it. That's that child innocence that we do when we're kids and we're all playing these games. Everybody's like, hey, let's do this. I'm like, okay. And kids just do it. Now, as adults, we get trained, okay, you can't act like that, you can't do that. But as actors, we have to go back to having that quality of believability that we'll believe whatever we're doing. and you have to do the homework beforehand. I think the homework is important. Do the your own. Now we have to do our own rehearsing because they don't do the rehearsals like they used to back in the day, which I love. But I think it creates a new, because you rehearse and you go, okay, now we're gonna do this. Okay, now when we do it, we'll do it like this.
I really wanted to talk about your recent work in Daughter, which was fantastic. And just the fact that do you love this point of your career where you can choose these fun roles, where you can choose something like The Flood, where you're playing a character you haven't played before, you're trying an accent you haven't tried before, you're trying a role that people don't necessarily see you in. Is this something you relish, or do you miss the big blockbusters that happen all the time, or what is it?
No, I would love to do big blockbuster, but I have a lot of fun doing all the independent movies too. They're a lot of fun for me. I mean, I get to do, like, I just did Mad Heidi too, which is coming out right now, also on demand. I did a Fathom event and they had that, and where I got to do a Swiss German accent because I played the president/dictator of Switzerland fighting against lactose intolerance in a grindhouse type film, which was amazing. So I have all these different, and then I have Daughter, where I just play the most disturbing character in a film, all shot on film, all shot. Just, I think that the actors in that were amazing, and it was a lot of fun to do that. But I parted my hair down the middle, and my wife and my kids were like, "Ooh, gross," and I was like, "Perfect." They just were so disturbed by the way I looked, which for me, that's putting on the character, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew how I wanted to feel, and I talked to the director before, and he's like, "Yep, yep, yep, yep." He was so cool, so creative. Yeah, I loved playing in Daughter. I'm glad you liked that.
Oh, it was a great film. Last question, because I know you're a huge fan of TV and film itself, but she was a huge co-star, one of my favorite films of yours. Are you enjoying the Christina Ricci renaissance as much as everybody else these days?
She was phenomenal for me to work with, and I am so happy for her. And I love working with her. I love working with Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp to me was one of the nicest guys I've ever worked with, and so creative. And I think he's been an inspiration in a lot of ways, because, like, he was saying, he was like doing a combination of Keith Richards and a young girl for the character of Ichabod Crane, and I think that was his premise before he then became Jack Sparrow. So he has all these different thoughts. So, like, when I was doing Mad Heidi, I was thinking of Arnold Schwarzenegger meets Tommy Wiseau. I was just trying to do different characters. So, like, I now have these different things because of him. I think he's either helped or hurt me a lot as an actor. But what it is I do kind of try to find different things that I think would be fun and interesting to play.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see what comes next for you. Best of luck with The Flood, and thanks again for your time.
Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hey, Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also, click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.